of the night. Yeah, man. Look at me opening everything, just forgetting the sound. And I hope that the sound is now audible. Yes, it is. So, yeah, guys, that's why you're going to have a bit of quietness at the beginning, because being me, I was doing what I normally do, but I forgot to open the sound. But yeah, what is important is not that. That is water under the bridge. What is important that we had today is that Mrs. Gladness khumalo, and perhaps this is what was not touched upon a lot that Ines is touching on. And Longwe pointed both of them, Zamogu Hlambata, both of them. They pointed Zamogu Hlambata. They both explained a person that had dreads, dark dreads, just short, which explains why this prosecutorial led investigation is not willing to play on those terrain. And you tell me this is all about law. Is this all about law?
No, it's not at this point, in my opinion.
Two people, and it's not only that. What today also demonstrated is that the description of this person persisted with everyone who was in the house. Hence, someone, somewhere, at some point, when the most, let me say, smartest OI took over, some people had to retake some of the statements and change some things, right?
Yeah. Did you hear him at the end saying that he had no problem with the statements that were written earlier on by initial investigators or warrant officers, Steenkamp and stuff?
This is worrying. He had no problem. They don't write.
However, the witnesses that he selected from the house, all of them had to rewrite statements.
Exactly.
Yet he had no problem with the statements that were done initially.
That's what Mnisi, you see, I like the approach that Mnisi took of just opening him up, him talking, such as he had no problem with statements that were written by the IOZ. No, the people wrote the statements.
Yes.
And we are talking about the memory fading. Yet there are people who were adding statements that I do not know anything about guns.
6 years later.
6 years later. But you are talking about memory fading. Yet you wanted Ndanzi to remember exactly where he was.
On the 26th,
of October.
24.
Yet the memory is fading. This is very, very interesting. I mean, only a person who does not, or who has something to prove against the people who are currently on the stand, would actually believe this sort of garbage, if you ask me. This is, according to me, my opinion is garbage. Because you try to understand and maybe try to sympathize and say, let's say, a bit of an investigation was done. Let's assume.
Yeah, we assumed at the beginning.
Now and again, upon the cross-examination, it is proven that this perhaps could have been the witch hunt that initially was a witch hunt to Zamogu Hlambata. Because it can be a mistake that Zandi explains a dark person who came with a gun, with dreads. And then Kaylee explains what? Is it Kaylee?
It's
Mtogozisen
Tumelo and Gladness.
And Gladness and Longwe explain the same person. And then those two, they go on to point at Zamogu, who is a local known person, more so for Uma Khumalo. It cannot be that as an investigator, you ignore all of that.
There's also a statement from a neighbor that Advocate Mshololo read. Apparently, that statement, allegedly, it's in 375, but I'm not sure. However, she read it at some point where the neighbor was talking about how Khumalo went out and she was screaming and saying that she knew this person that had entered the house.
Exactly.
Uyamazi lo mfana lo.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
he always passes by the street.
Exactly. It can be. I mean, it cannot be. All of a sudden, Bokeli, Bozandi, they go to court to point at Ntanzi. Was it Ntanzi that
Yes,
they pointed
they pointed at Ntanzi.
Yes.
But they did not point at accused number 3.
Yes.
While their statements say that if they could see the one who was holding a gun, I'm sure they'd
They
be
could
able to
point
recognize
that
him.
person.
But she couldn't point at him in court.
Lindy Webem, thank you very much. We
The
appreciate you. May God bless you.
Thank you, Lindiwe. Thank you. The one that they couldn't remember as they were being asked with regards to writing their statements, they said that the second intruder, they did not know what he looked like, facial features, right? But then here she was performing in the courts, pointing at Ntanzi and even crying hysterically.
Yes, yes. It cannot be that all that is ignored. As a seasoned investigator, you would not do that. As Mrs. Correctly referred to him being very lame.
It is very lame.
It's not an offense.
It's lame. It's not an offense. It's lame for you to just come to the
Clever.
conclusion that it must be this one because they're short. What
Yes.
nonsense is that?
You clever.
What?
In a sense, clever, because what else? Who else can pull out the stand like this? And come now, all of a sudden, it does not need these people to be ID'd. You are just confirming.
Oh, because he's short. It means it must be him.
The reason why you did not want them to be ID'd, one can argue that you knew that the description that were done on an affidavit that were different. And how then can you change that?
And it's funny how there's no mention of the ID parade that he took Mthokozi Sitwala to in the prison.
Yes.
Who was Mtogo identifying at the prison? Because Mtogo testified about it, but Brigadier Gininda doesn't even want to go there.
It just
was with
baffles me.
Gininda. He went to the prison somewhere, and they did an ID parade with him.
Masiabe, thank you for renewing membership. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. How can we believe everything that now is being shown in court? All of a sudden, we should close our eyes and ears to everything that we've just heard now. Even if you go de novo, you come back, you change everything, you try to sway everything. In my opinion, everything keeps on changing. But still,
it's still the same.
It's still the same.
It still takes us back
we still
what?
Traverse the same direction that even that judge who allegedly was self-appointed traversed. I don't know.
Oh, Momela.
The only difference now is that there is someone who can corroborate the story in court.
Yeah.
That is someone who sits in high positions, who's supposed to take decisions about this case.
Who's supposed to actually
in my opinion,
find out what happened before arresting people. Must find out. Not have sources falling on your lap and then choosing to follow those leads of those sources instead of actually investigating, starting where the incident took place. There is
something wrong with this case from the word go. The argument should mention that there is something wrong with this case. One family, a father and a son, who were not on the scene, they know a lot. You know, they know a lot about this case to such an extent that you are not willing to have people who were in the house to have that ID parade. You just are relying on them. And then you rely on statements that are just there. We do not know whether these people wrote those statements or not.
It's very astonishing and very
So we are
mesmerizing.
relying on you,
The
who was
fact-
authenticating those statements, doing everything on those statements. This case solely rely on you as an investigator. And we should hear what you are saying on the basis of how we trust you. It is crazy how this case depends on one person.
Did you even hear how he denied, or rather did not want to acknowledge the statements, the many statements that Longwe Twala had written?
Yes.
This is the person who was in the house,
Yes.
who was closer to what actually happened. You would rather take Bo Zungu.
It is questionable, to say the least, that this case was prosecutorially driven. It is very. You ask yourself, it just screams a lot of questions, this case. Now, I mean, the level of IQ and everything, it just screams a lot of questions for me. I'm not saying anything, but it just screams a lot of things that are, in my opinion, as seasoned. Even Emil was reducing the time of these NPA people who were advising. Nisi said 90, not 19. Amongst them, it's 90 years. That would mean that most of them, they average 30 years of experience.
So for all of them combined, it was 90 years experience.
That's what
Nisi
said.
19.
Yes.
I thought he said 19 years of experience. So if 3 of them combined, they have 90 years experience. It means each one has 30.
On average. Above 90 years. That's what you said. Asiye Aliwan, all of them. We should look at them.
The only one left. Where are the others? Where are the 2?
We should look at them and ask, what exactly did you see that was valid? Other than the so-called bullet that is also questionable. It pokes holes by saying, if the bag is open, if the bag that is supposed to protect that forensic evidence is broken and there's no answer behind it, what do you normally do, Gininda? He answers.
What did he say?
He says that then evidence is contaminated. And that's a good one. That's a good one.
True. Now, I will not argue with him on that one. It is a fact. It is contaminated.
So, once he says that, then the argument is easier. And then you have someone who's got the title of a doctor amongst those who are taking over, continuing with this case, a doctor. And you sit down, you analyze this as a lawyer, you still feel there is prima facie case that says these people really got in there, they did what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's a movie. It's a long, unending movie. Well, we are at it again, guys. So, court proceedings this morning started with Advocate Nisi on the power of attorney and the list of instructions. He asked Gininda, they are not part of the lawyer-client privilege because they do not contain personal information. And Gininda said, perhaps I was misunderstood. My explanation was that I do not venture into that terrain. I'm not involved in the process of who an accused chooses to appoint as a legal representative. Then Nisi said to him, you further referred to A58 and you referred to A12, Gladness khumalo statements, and you referred to Dreadlocks. Gininda said, my lord, what I said is that A12 was made after the incident and my suspicion was that A58 was made for the purposes of an ID parade, and I was correct. And Nisi said that in A12, Khumalo just says that the intruder had dreadlocks And in A58, she goes on to elaborate where she says the intruder had dreadlocks that came up to the jaw area. Would that not be a better description? Advocate Baloyi raised an objection and said that the statement says that the dreadlocks came to the neck. And Mnisi said, my apologies, that was his mistake. And he said, but wouldn't that be the correct
It's just an
description?
annoying objection that is useless. It's like saying, I'm from KZN. Maybe let's just put it like this. I'm from Mashabatin, and someone says I'm from Ulund. It's almost the same thing. You know, it doesn't matter, man. Why should we worry about the details of that?
And the neck.
You know, why should we worry about the details of that instead of focusing on the question and trying to understand the question as it is? Be that as it may, it still says one thing.
And he said that Umnisi said that it was his mistake, but the jaw and neck for him, it did not make any difference. Well, Gininda said that if you read the statement in its entirety, and he said because Advocate Umnisi only referred him to paragraph 6, one can see that statement was made for the purposes of the ID parade where Khumalo identified the wrong person.
Wait, shall welcome to members of this channel. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, it just, you know, it's not about the content of the of that. What matters is how Khumalo, whether at some point he pointed at the wrong person, but it does not take away that even if he pointed at Zamogul, the description remains dark, short dreads, and it was consistent.
Yes.
With pointing with Zamogul,
Yes.
whether it was wrong or right, but that was what Khumalo did.
That is why he
And
was
that is what
taken
Longwe
into
did.
custody.
And that brings that question of, if this was wrong, if this person was wrong as the alibi did attest to that, if this was wrong then, and this was a known person, did these people discuss after Senzo's death that this is how we are going to describe this person?
From the whole thing of Khumalo being hysterical, running down the street saying that she knew the young man. She
Allegedly, from the state, one of the statements.
From the statement, what if it was already planned?
It is even moving away from the what if position. It goes straight to that question.
Because they talked about why.
And then you get some people who come and so-called investigate, and then they get
You don't
totally
find that
different things.
suspicious? You didn't
As
find
an
that
investigator,
suspicious?
you don't find that suspicious. You don't find that you exonerate them. You exonerate them. If you are able to find these perpetrators and you say Kaylee could have been a trigger person, then what about those ones who describe Zamogul and knew Zamogul? What of those ones? What are they? Why are you saying they did not know anything? Let's say we go with your theory. Zandi could have known that neighbor. Whether he did not point or pointed at that neighbor, could have known that neighbor.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
He was there on that parade. She was there on that parade. She did not say anything to Umawaka appointed. Ay mama phela uzamukuhle lona siyamazi.
Why to lela?
She just kept quiet.
Nah, okay.
That is cruel.
Nah, okay.
That is cruel.
That Uzamukuhle Mbata from, I think it's a Carte Blanche interview, he said that he was washing Senzo's car. I was shocked.
That is
It
cruel.
was disclosed in the court that he used to wash Senzo's car. In fact, he worked at the car wash close to where they stayed.
It still baffles me. Why would you not agree with this case 375 that says people who are in the house should be looked at, and those are the people who have something to answer.
Two,
There is a
especially
prima
after
facie
this
case
whole mess up with
that they need to
Zamokufi
answer
Mbata.
for.
You should have went directly there
You
to
know?
them. Why would they do something
And
so
then-
awful?
And then the certain family mushrooms, the zungus, mushrooms,
How?
they come, they change the whole story now.
And then
Allegedly.
you choose that Zungu story.
And you choose to believe that a police
Chose it.
who saw the guns exchanging hands in his presence and he did not say anything.
You
He
chose
broke
that.
the oath that he gave when he was given this job. He broke that oath.
Not only that, you chose a constable who came to you with a story he had heard from his father. Hearsay.
And you believed it. And not only that, at the right time, he was also positioned with these people. And you believed him. No one was arrested. No case was opened when the legal guns were exchanging hands, allegedly in that house. Nothing. You believed that police.
It's almost like the people in the house were the untouchables when it came to how Brigadier Gininda conducted his investigation, because there's nowhere on record where he actually spoke to them except for Zandi. Zandi's the only one that he had occasional meetings with, but everyone else, it seems like he couldn't interview them, he couldn't speak to them. I don't know what was happening there. It's almost like he couldn't go there. Maybe he didn't want to, I don't know, I don't understand. But it would have been of substance had he started there. Especially with this whole mess of the ID parade and having someone who was eventually acquitted being pointed at. It's very disturbing. It tells you that something was being hidden, and you as the lead investigator did not want to know what that something that was being hidden was. By
You just
the people in the
decided
house.
to embark on a new one, and those people, they came, added new statements, and that is something that I cannot move my mind from.
Yeah, well, Gininda continued to say that Mr. Mbata had dreadlocks that reached their neck and a picture was taken. There is a photo album that was taken for the ID parade. So the essence of the A58, it wasn't just to assist the police to describe the intruders. It was in relation to the ID parade that she attended, identifying a person bearing number 11. And the issue of the dreadlocks up to the neck relates to the person that she identified and obviously placed the person as one of the intruders who were there when the incident took place. By the way, I want to ask, this is a question. Khumalo, are there any consequences for that she had to face from perhaps maybe the initial investigating team? I mean, this is kind of like misleading the police in a wrong direction, in my opinion.
No, considering that this is ingane kulele lokshin.
And if she was asked as to why did she point at this particular person, what was her excuse? Did she not see properly? What was her excuse? What is a statement that
that's what an
correlates
investigator was supposed to do.
supporting as to
That's what
had
a
happened?
new investigator was supposed to do. Then a new investigator met with Khumalo, and there's a lawyer. There's a lawyer. You still don't find that suspicious.
You still don't find it suspicious?
That someone who was forthcoming with other IOs, when she has to come to you, she now comes with a lawyer. After pointing, as you mentioned, correctly so, a wrong person. And you still think
It's very shocking.
we should be cordial as colleagues.
Bese kuthiwa si biased.
As colleagues, Nisi should be friendly with you.
Yeah, I must be friendly, even though you did a poor investigation, in my opinion. Well, Gininda referred to the album A72. He said that there was a picture that shows the picture of the person that was identified by Miss Gladness Khumalo. We're going to assume that was the picture of Zamoguhle Mbata.
Let's
Nisi then
pause a
said,
bit,
thank you.
Let's pause a bit. Let's give people a chance to like. Yes, the algorithm does require people to like.
Guys, the likes do help a lot. They help.
Yes.
That's why we'll never stop asking for the like button.
We are grateful to everyone who's coming and becoming a member. But also, I mean, you don't also need to be a member if you don't afford, but just assist us with the likes.
Yes,
and that is if it comes from your heart. Assist us with the like.
Yes, please.
So we're just reminding those who want to like.
Push that thumbs up.
I know
button.
others, they're not interested. They don't want to be reminded. But there are people who really care about this channel. So they do now and then would like to be reminded. So we are reminding them, we're giving them time to like the video. Let's push it to 200 and then we continue. As you remember also, even those who are behind, remember to like the video, push those likes. They do count. We see them in time, even if you are behind. We see them in time because as you press them, they reflect on our site.
Yes, they do reflect. So please, guys, press that like button. It's free of charge. Yes.
Let's continue.
Well, Nisi said to Gininda, thank you, despite giving a long answer. At least you're conceding that A58 gives the correct description of one of the suspects, particularly the one who had the firearm. Then Gininda continued to say, but, my lord, you cannot run away from the fact that A58, she pointed the wrong person. It became clear that Mr. Mbata, whom was identified and arrested, was the wrong person. He was not involved in this matter. Nisi said, Mr. Gininda, you seem to be missing the point in a very grave way. Look, Ms. Khumalo says, I was one of the people that were in the house, and when we got accosted, I was there. I saw the suspect that was in possession of the firearm. That suspect that I saw looked like this. That is something we cannot shy away from. Whether ultimately in the ensuing identification parade, whether she identified the wrong person or not, that is immaterial. The fact that her capacity to identify the intruder who had a firearm in their possession. I remember I said to you at the core of the trial that this is with regards to the identity of the intruders. And to me, at this stage, Mr. Anonymous, I could already sense a vibe here that to Gininda, it seems like Gladness Khumalo was an untouchable.
Let me, luckily, you get people like these ones. And I'm going to just put this one on record.
Okay.
I am sorry, Emil Tricepius. So there's some Tlantla Shange here who's glued up when it comes to law, who's saying, these podcasts really confuse people. It's really procedural. Mark that one, procedural. That Baloyi is involved. NPA represented by Baloyi is part of investigation. Why would you be hell-bent in confusing people when you're really not clued up with everything? First of all, such people are people who don't even open the book.
True.
So you just read the heading and then you're like, we are hell-bent in why Baloyi was involved. No, we didn't question Baloyi's involvement. Even Mnis. That's what Mnis is saying. Them combined, they made 90 years plus of experience.
Oh, yes.
For us to face a case of this nature.
Yes.
As if it was done by the juniors. In a sense, that's what they are saying. There's nothing wrong with them being involved, but it's not procedural for them to be involved. They can be involved.
as they become,
it's not
from
something
my
that is
understanding-
there as a rule of thumb that they must be involved. They can get involved towards the end of it
Once
when they
the
approve.
DPP has approved
Yes,
that this case can go to trial.
but also there's nothing
That's
that is
when we
stopping
see
them
MPA.
to be involved along the way. Like this one, it was prosecutorial.
Did you miss
done.
it when there was testimony given?
No,
that
probably it's not
from
even
as
here.
early back as 2018, Advocate Baloyi was there in the midst somehow. Did you miss that?
And then you
Are we watching the same case? Are we watching the same thing? Or watching different cases? Did you miss Brigadier Gininda informing us
and you put your
that as
faith.
way back as 2018, 2019, Advocate Baloyi was there?
And then later on, he says they started seeing this case when it was done with it. I mean, and then you put your picture in such after commenting such. You put your picture for us to look at you and see you. If you are a lawyer, believe in me, I would never come to you. I'd never come to you.
This is a superiority complex.
But I can tell you are not a lawyer by the way you write.
No, this is a superiority complex. There's this dis-ease, I'm going to call it that, where whenever certain people challenge things, there are other people who come in just to disrupt.
One stupid person said at some point, I'm saying stupid with inverted commas, because there are clever ones like these ones. He said, if you fight for Black Nation, always use one hand to fight the enemy and use the other one to fight them.
It's true.
You can never fight for them without fighting against them.
Yes, they are going to want to fight you. They fight you, in fact, for trying to save them.
Yep.
They will call you all kinds of names.
Yes.
They will fight you viciously. Even worse than the enemy that is ahead, that you are fighting for them. That's how sad it is.
Yes.
And you know what the main factor in all of this is there's this wanting to be smarter, to be seen smarter than everyone else, that you are unwilling to listen to somebody with an opposing view. That's at the core of it, that you just feel like these people are not worthy of me to listen to them. So I will just carry on believing what I believe, even though it's wrong.
Exactly.
It's a huge superiority complex. But
we continue.
We move.
We just keep the sjambok on the side to fight the very same people that claim to know the law.
And you know what the weird thing about that comment is that there's no facts, there's no something that he can give that is of substance.
No.
All I hear is he's defending Baloyi. That's what I'm hearing. That's my interpretation of that comment you just read, that this person is actually guns blazing defending Baloyi, and he feels like Baloyi is a victim.
It's fine, let's continue.
Well, Gininda argued that this is not what A58 says. A58 doesn't say that the suspect looks like the person that she identified. And she said that the person she's identifying is one of the intruders. Then Mnisi said, now you're mentioning that there was an ID parade that was held wherein Miss Khumalo identified who you referred to as a wrong person. From what you are saying, I gather that there can be no dispute between the defense and the state that indeed such an ID parade was held, which would necessitate me authenticating the process in the ID parade. He said, I need to take that up with the state. And Baloyi stood to respond, and he said that the ID parade has been handed up, evidence has been led. He said that he doesn't know why this issue is being canvassed with the state. Nisi said, thank you. Then he moved on. He referred to the pictures of the ID parade. He said that the person he thinks was identified by Khumalo had tag 11. And Nisi said, the reason why I'm referring you to this is because I want to demonstrate the consistency of what she described. The judge decided to come out today. He was tired of being quiet and being mum.
It was too good.
Yeah, it was too good to be
When it
true. I
lasted.
spoke too soon yesterday. Yesterday I spoke too soon. Family, Nkoleleni, forgive me. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Although it is tiring sometimes, but nah, I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But today, I upumile judge upumile waphuma ngejazi elibomvu wathi ngikhathele ukuthula. The judge said, is it a fact that Makhumalo pointed to the wrong person in dispute? Mnisi said no. Then the judge referred him to the confession statement where it stated that they knew that the traditional healer had done a great job when they heard that Makhumalo pointed to the wrong person. Hey, Mnisi was not having it, hey? Mnisi came out guns blazing and he said, then the court would be mindful of the fact that this is governed by the provisions of 217. And over and above that, my lord, I'm wondering if the court now wants to start to believe in muti things.
In reality, what was the judge trying to say? Can you imagine a judge sitting there and believing that the pointing out was affected by muti? Eh?
Oh my God.
He's the one who was making a mockery of muti, saying that people would say that they would make the ball disappear.
And you know what the worst thing is? He's quoting from the confession statements that he said their inadmissibility will be proven at the end of the trial. He remembers this particular
He wants to
detail.
confine Mnisi using that as if the judgment is already made, as if it is not made in any case. But I'm just saying, it is sad to witness it. As much as we might think that the judgment is something of the past.
Mm-hmm.
But it is sad to witness it now and then.
Yeah. Well, Mnisi said that, the judge had to come in and say, no. That's what he said. No, after Mnisi said that. And then Mnisi continued to say that Gakhateba did a wrong thing. If the court then is believing in it, then the court is taking the civilized legal system back to its prehistoric systems. The judge said that he was not quoting emotive things. He was saying that there's a piece of evidence that says that. I mean, why did this particular part of evidence stand out to you, Judge, that you just remember it and you blurt it out like this? That to me baffles me. I was fascinated.
That would be the
that.
reason why there was the wrong pointing, because those people were muted. If there's something like that, they were muted.
So they were muted. Who muted them?
I don't know.
The accused had nothing
the
to
same
do.
people that were allegedly hired by Indodaga's Makhumalo, they muted to Makhumalo and Long.
And then Mnisi said, but then the court says, you still remember that witch doctor said one of the accused who made a confession said that, and then the judge said it's not the witch doctor who said that, it's one of the accused who allegedly made a confession when he said that. Well, Mnisi said, unfortunately, he's not here. He's in a different trajectory. He's not there where it's being talked about muti. He's all on a different path, and whether or not that information is there, he can't remember. And Mnisi now turned back to Gininda and said, my trajectory is while Makhumalo was seated in the house and they got accosted by the two intruders, she was able to have a look at this person who had a firearm in his possession, and which the state has come to tell this court that the person who had a firearm in his possession is accused number 3. And according to Makhumalo, that person with the firearm in their possession was that person who was exhibited at the ID parade. Whether that person was the right person or not, that is not for you, Mr. Gininda.
It's a different case at all that you should now look at why you pointed a wrong person.
Mr. Mnisi said, we are trying to come to the exact identity of the perpetrators according to Makhumalo. That is the person who had the firearm that accords very well with the person who had dreadlocks that are coming to the neck. Gininda said, no, I beg to differ. I thought investigation was a systematic way of finding the truth. So if a person makes an error, be it intentional or otherwise, and evidence shows that this is the wrong person, you cannot ignore the truth, because that is the purpose of finding the truth. That is what our justice system is all about. That's the first suspect. Secondly, Ms. Khumalo made her statement on the 27th of October 2014, and in that statement she described the intruder, which had a firearm with dreadlocks, not where they end. She simply mentioned that and the demanding of the cell phones and money. Gininda said that the identity parade is then made on the 29th of October 2014, where Gladness Khumalo identifies Mr. Mbata, where she did not describe the length of the dreadlocks on the first statement on the 27th of October. You know what the most interesting thing about this is? Mr. Zamoguhle Mbata, at the time when they did this to him, his dreadlocks were kind of
exactly
in the neck.
Yes,
they were short. Right now they are longer, but back then the length was here of the dreadlocks. So Gininda then said, on that ID parade of the 29th of October 2014, it's prudent to mention that the photographer was there. These photos were taken on that day. And on the 6th of November, Ms. Khumalo met police and deposed the A58, which is the statement. It came into existence after the ID parade was held. And how could you then say this is how Ms. Khumalo described the intruder, because it comes after the ID parade? Then Nisi said the issue is about the person Ms. Khumalo saw, and not the statement to whether or A58 was taken after the ID parade. It is neither here nor there. It basically
you could have let Ms. Khumalo come and defend that, if you had to defend that.
Yes.
But you did not with your state.
Yes, you did not call her at all. Before she penned the statement, that's all, you know. I feel like at this moment, he should also pack it up with that neighbor statement. Should have quoted one sentence from that, especially that part where they said, Mr. Khumalo said that he knew this person that intruded their house. That part right there, it means Miss Khumalo knows this person. She knew the person.
Not the one who's in court right now. Not the one who's in court.
She knew
the person.
Yes, that's why she had the bravado.
Not all of a sudden the one who has a gun that is mysteriously aligning after being found in an open exhibit bag. Once you keep on talking about that gun, it needs to refer to the fact that that bag was open.
It was open.
And no one is willing to take accountability within the SAPS.
No. Then Gininda said, I don't know if I should repeat what was said because I tried to put it in the sequence form. He went on to explain. There is no
sequence that can explain this mess, man. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's embarrassing.
He went on to explain that the ID parade process, and then the statement was taken from Khumalo after the ID parade, and said that they found each with Mr. Mnisi. And he said that Mr. Mnisi, that a wrong person was identified. This was ventilated way before he came on board, and subsequent to that, this person was removed from the investigation. Mnisi asked about the A58, which is Khumalo's statement that he handed up as an exhibit. So he asked that that statement of Khumalo be handed up as an exhibit, and they would revisit it again when they call Khumalo to come and clear what is happening here. I can't wait. Nisi then said, of the people in the house, you only approached Madlala and Mthokozisi Twala, and they said they were not certain of the identities of the intruders. Whilst you did that, you had already identified the perpetrators. Gininda said the context needs to be understood as to how he said it. He said, I went back to Absalom Zungu and Constable Zungu and going up. He said, if you look at the commission statements of Mr. Madlala and Mthokozisi Twala, you will realize that I approached them after Exhibit HH and JJ were already done.
So people who were not in the house, they sorted this thing out. You know how these things are done by Ugini? They make me laugh, man. Like, you have people who are not in the house.
Yes.
Sorting out the issue of an identity.
Yeah. He said that there were other statements that were implicating the accused, including Absalom Zungu. He said he knew there were already pointers to these accused. That is why he wanted to establish from them that they can participate and identify the perpetrators if they line them up in an ID parade. You have to know your suspect before you prepare your ID parade. You cannot prepare an ID parade without you knowing your suspects. So can we say that you knew the suspects?
That's what he's saying.
But how, when you couldn't organize an ID parade for these particular accused after you had them in custody? I mean, it's not like they were nowhere to be found.
No,
They were
because
all
some of them
in
pointed
custody.
the wrong one. He's got funny reasons, man. He's got these funny reasons. It's like there is a Gininda way of doing things and there is an SAPS way of doing things. That's how it feels like.
Well, Nisi said that in contrast to what you did to Longwe, khumalo, Zandi and Kelly, by not approaching them for an ID parade, because amongst others, you already knew the identity of the perpetrators. Why did you have to approach Madlala and Mtogozi Sitwala when you knew the identity of the perpetrators? Well, Gininda said, I don't know how to explain this really. He said that the question was put to me. I said by the time we went to them, we had sight of these perpetrators linked by the evidence that was obtained. It unfolded how, as I am explaining, that is why I said before you arrange your ID parade, you need to know your suspects. When it comes to Madlala, the suspects were known, and they were known because right at the beginning, all the corroboration of the evidence it led us eventually to all the accused that is before this court. We approached any of the witnesses or the people who were inside the house. So my question is, you already had your suspects and you knew, right? Then how come you are not talking about the details of the ID parade that Mtogozi Sitwala did, where he said that at the end he said that is not who he said he pointed at. And you remember how he described how Brigadier Gininda had written that he said he can identify the person.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I remember that.
So what person was this? Since he knew the suspects. He knew the suspects. He said he knew the suspects. So he penned several statements. Gininda asked for an ID parade form, and he said that as an investigating officer, he would assume that it was in his main file. Gininda said that he exchanged the documents with the state from time to time. And Mnisi said, I'm not talking about the content, I'm talking about the authentication of the statement. Baloyi raised an objection saying that is not correct. That is not how you authenticate a statement. Since Mnisi was asking if Gininda asked Longwe if he went through the statements one by one with them and asked him if he had written them, Baloyi said that you identify the signature, you also agree with the content, and also agree that there was no miscommunication between you and the interpreter, and confirm the content. So Mnisi asked Gininda if this is what he did. Being a prosecution-led investigation, they should have guided him. And Baloyi said that the witness already said that there were inconsistencies in the statements. He does not know what he wants the witness to say. Mnisi said that he was not talking about the contents, but the person who wrote the statement, whether this statement was his. Gininda said that when he consulted with Longwe, there was a lot of inconsistencies in terms of what was contained in his statements and what he was recalling when they were consulting with him. Gininda
trying
said,
to debunk the statement of Longwe. Just right there. I mean, honestly speaking, your job was to investigate.
It was.
But you became a judge who eventually judged who was supposed to take an ID parade, who's not supposed to, because of they've chosen the wrong one before.
Pick and choose.
And you didn't arrest them, didn't do anything. If you feel that they did that on purpose.
Gininda said that when he consulted with Longwe insofar as what was contained in the statement and what he was saying, there was a big difference. There was a lot of inconsistencies. Gininda said even the last consultation they had with him at the DPP's office with the DPP, as the state wanted to consult with him, even with the doctor. I was like, what doctor now? So later on, it was disclosed that they're talking about Sibanda. Gininda then said even in that instance, there were inconsistencies. Nisi then said in A113, he says Longwe, as Kelly was about to tell a joke, he noticed two black guys, one tall and one light in complexion, and the other with dreadlocks was short, dark, with a khaki jacket. The one with dreadlocks cocked a gun and demanded cell phones and money in isiZulu. He stood up to rush for the guy with the gun and escaped through the kitchen door. The gist is that the description of the guy with the firearm, which the state says is accused number 3, and Gininda said that he indicated that when they engaged with Longwe, there was no understanding. He was not according himself with any of these statements. He said he doesn't know how to assist. And he said he would be speculating.
He was exonerated to statements as well, the same way as he was exonerated to the gun. You know, this is funny, man. This is funny. Like, honestly speaking, one can almost feel as if there's a bit of defending that is happening here. If an IO can go on a stand without calling that person to come and say that, or contradict himself in front of us, you are defending.
He's being saved. He's being.
You are defending.
Covered in. No, he cannot come to testify. No, his statements are full of inconsistencies. No, he was not there when the shooting happened. No, like he's wow, it's amazing.
He moved to hospital. The phone pinged on hospital. There are a lot of things that you keep on. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
It's weird. It's really scary the way in which an investigator is supposed to bring all that in court, the truth in court, not defend.
Well, the judge asked him if he has never affirmed any of the statements with Longwe. Gininda said no, never. So that process that Baloyi was talking about as he was objecting, that he needed to sit and ask him, is the signature yours? Are the contents in here yours? Are you the one who said this? If there's an interpreter, there was no miscommunication between you and the interpreter. Gininda did not do that. He said never. Even
maybe
with
he
Gladness,
did,
khumalo,
in my opinion. Maybe he did. It just didn't align. It just didn't align.
Even if it doesn't align, he's supposed to own it, to say, I did it. But it did not align. Why is he denying it? Because now it's making him look like a Popeye.
That thing of a doctor, it was scary. I was thinking, who's this doctor? Maybe it's a slip up of the tongue. Someone slipping up. Yeah, it's yeah.
Doctor. And then later on, when the judge asked who the doctor is, he said Sibanda. Could it have been a slip of the tongue? But who's this doctor?
We don't know.
So even with Gladness, khumalo, Kelly and Zandi, none of them were affirmed by him. Nisi said that he did not need to affirm the statement because that has already been done in 2014. He just had to go there and confirm the statement. Nisi said Longwe identifies or describes the person that had a firearm as a person with dreadlocks and was dark in complexion. Now Longwe also attended an ID parade, and that's the same one Khumalo attended. He was the first person to go in, and the results were as follows. He said, I suspect number 11, Zamambata, wearing a fawn t-shirt with striped and blue trouser. Nisi said he was the first person to go in, and the results were as follows. I suspect number 11, Zamokuhlembata. He says that this is the person who had a firearm, and it accords with the description he gave of the dreadlocks, and he was dark in complexion. Gininda said that he was not part of the ID parade. All he can say is that nowhere in the statement does Longwe mention the perpetrator by name. The judge asked for that doctor, and of course it was mentioned that he was talking about Sibanda. Nisi continued to ask him, do you realize that the description Longwe gives in A58 describes a person with a firearm as short, dark, with dreadlocks and cheekbones, wearing a jacket ranging from brown or beige in color? Gininda said, my lord, what I realized was a wrong person was identified and cleared. The evidence we have is that it was accused number 3 who was shot and had a firearm. Gininda said Mr. Mbata was not a person inside the house. Even the DNA, the court will remember that I dealt with the DNA that was excluding everyone in the house. This person was not picked up.
Except the accused, right? Because they had 2%.
Well, he said this person was not picked up by any inch of the DNA. Any inch.
2%.
So I am talking about exclusion. That is not merely the investigators deciding that we are excluding this individual. Extensive investigation was done, which I've looked at, and it was excluded because there was no objective evidence that was found. But most important, the suspect was a known resident. In other words, it is a person that if it was the perpetrator from the beginning, people would have said the perpetrator, we know him, it's Zamambata.
Well, khumalo allegedly said that.
She did. This was a local. It was not a person from another town, but in this place. And those facts that they were taken into account, the person was already arrested. And that's why the collaboration was important. And that is why when I received the confessions, I did not rush to say, now that we have a confession, it's now a ticket. People must be arraigned. You try and get evidence to collaborate so that you find the objective and indisputable evidence to avoid such things.
Indisputable evidence. Guys, it is indisputable that can you please like their video? Please.
And also it felt like he was taking a jab at the investigation team that apprehended Zamukutle Mpata, in my opinion. Well, Nisi said that he had a statement that was disclosed by the state that was penned by Longwe Twala, where he described the 2 perpetrators that got into the house. This statement was commissioned on the 6th of November 2014. Nisi said that he will not go through that statement because the purpose of his cross-examination is to deal with the identity of the perpetrators. So he read the portion that he needed to use, and it read as follows. It said, Kelly was standing, was telling a joke, and we were all sitting down listening to her. The butler door was wide open and the door was half opened. I noticed 2 guys who got inside the house. The one who came first was short, dark, having dreadlocks, with cheekbones, wearing a jacket between khaki and light brown beige jacket. He said, I cannot remember his other clothing. Immediately, the tall one followed. He was wearing a black hoodie, but light in complexion. That is all I remember about him. The tall one went to Kelly. The short one was following the tall one. But I stood up, pushed the short one, who had a gun, by the way, away. I pushed the short one away. It's when I noticed the firearm on his hand. I cannot remember whether it was right or left hand. I noticed the firearm and I quickly ran out of the door. So after the short adjournment, Nisi asked him, do you then realize that description that Longwe Twala gives in A57 describes a person that had a firearm in his possession as being dark, short, and had dreadlocks, and had cheekbones, and he wore a jacket with a khaki or light brown or beige in color? Gininda said that I think I have dealt with this issue of the statement that I was not present. What I realized is that a wrong person was identified and that I know...
You know, it's funny that he collaborates the color. On those statements, he chooses to collaborate the color.
And the dress.
The rest is And he wants this universal way of describing dreads. They were just dreads.
Yes, dreads are just dreads.
That's it. It doesn't, so that it suits the long and short ones.
Yeah.
Hey, my God. Hey, my God. And then this is an investigator. Pick and choose.
The quality of investigators we have in our country, Mina, I fear. I am scared. What scares me is that how do you guys deal with serious scammers, fraudsters, people who do like not small water crimes, like big crimes. Sure. Hi, let's move. Then he said he was identified. What he knows for a fact is that the person was cleared by the investigation, and it was the same when he came on board. He said that the investigations revealed that accused number 3 went into the house carrying the firearm. The judge asked Gininda if Longwe actually said that he identified Zamukuhle Mbata by name. Gininda said yes, he was specific. If he was involved in the commission of the offense, his name would have come up from the beginning. It would not have said unknown suspect. In the warning statement, it said number 11, and it also mentioned the name Zamukuhle Mbata that was unlawfully identified, or rather prosecuted. So what is he saying here? He's saying that Longwe knew Zamukuhle Mbata.
That's what it said, sounded like.
This is not good. This is not good at all. Nisi then said, what now in terms of the description that Longwe gives, remember what is crucial here is the description of the perpetrator who was in possession of the firearm observed by those people who were in the house. Longwe pointed out the same person who had the same characters as the person that he saw on the 26th of October 2014 who accosted them with a firearm. And Gininda said, but my lord, he identified the wrong person. There's evidence to prove that. There's evidence that we have before court pointing to accused number 3 as one of the intruders who was in the house. These are the facts and the evidence that is before us. And I don't think it's a fact yet. A fact is very strong. It's
It is.
Very strong.
It is. 5 gifted member from NET, Pedro, Napo, Melo, what is Bui, Ngoni. Thank you on behalf of those people, and thank you on behalf of the channel.
Thank you. And he said, I don't know how many times can I repeat this, my lord. Well, Mnisi said your statement that the evidence that is before court points to accused number 3. You said in your evidence in chief that in terms of your analysis, in terms of how you evaluated the evidence, in terms of how you threw inference on the evidence, in terms of how you concluded on that evidence, you had then come to a viewpoint that accused number 3 is the person who had the firearm. Is that not so? And Gininda said his role is to investigate. He said, I don't evaluate and make judgments on the evidence. I investigate, and the pointers on the role that was played by each and every accused that is guarded by evidence. Very interesting, because last week it did not sound like that. The last week it sounded like, yeah, you are a judge. After the investigation was done, forwarded to the DPP then made a decision to arraign these people. It was not based on me. I don't make decisions to arraign people. Mine is to investigate, and that is exactly what I did in terms of what I collected. These accused that are before court were connected in terms of the roles that they played, and the role that accused number 3 played was to be one of the people who went into the house carrying a firearm. Then Nisi said, I'm glad that in the end you are able to understand what your role is. Do you remember that something I even objected to you in your evidence in chief, that you are not here to analyze evidence. You are not here to make decisions. The decision that needs to be made will ultimately be taken by the court. And Mnisi said, you are saying your evidence points to accused number 3 with a gun. And Gininda said that he always understood his role. Perhaps it was misunderstood by Advocate Nisi. He said, I've always understood my role and how far I can go. And coming to just finding you do not withhold or try to keep things from the court is the one that will make a determination. That's his understanding. And Mnisi said Longwe went to the ID parade and he says that the person who had a firearm was short, had dreadlocks and was dark in complexion and had some visible jaws. At the ID parade, he does not point a light-skinned person. He points out exactly a person who bears similar features to the one that he described. Gininda said, my lord, he identified the wrong person. I don't know how many times I must say this because the person he pointed out was cleared and was not found with the firearm. The evidence of the firearm was linked to the accused. Nisi said, Longwe's identification confirms what Khumalo also gave. Both of them identified the same person who had similar features. And then the judge said, Mr. Mnisi, I want to be fair to your client. When you say similar features, then you are referring to two different people. Logically, when you say Rata has similar features with Mr. Munyeki, we are talking about two different features. You are saying that Ms. Khumalo pointed out a person who was pointed out also by Longwe, and they have similar features. You heard me, ne? And Mnisi said that he needed to understand what the court was saying. When he was saying similar features, he's basing it on the description of this person. It could have been a question of semantics, and the judge said it was not. Mnisi said, okay, let me rephrase. He rephrased the question and said the person who was described by Khumalo and the person who was described by Longwe, their descriptions are similar, which is the reason why at the identification parade they identified one person. And Gininda said that that similarity also applied to accused number 3 in terms of the height. He's also short. But is he dark? Is he dark? Well, Nisi said that's very lame. If that is how you were taught by the South African Police Services to describe a person and suspect that he's the same person because he is short, that is very lame. It is very lame indeed. But let us proceed. And Baloi stood to object, saying that I suppose that that sarcastic comment can just be ignored, my lord. Gininda then continued on from where Advocate Baloi left off. He said, my lord, indeed, I view that as a sarcastic and insulting because it was put to me about the description of the suspect and I'm expected to comment. So I do not know how Advocate Nisi wants me to be selective and say certain things and not say certain things that must help this court to find the right decision. But you are selective.
You are saying the person is short. You're not still talking about the complexion.
He said it is a fact that accused number 3 is short. I'm not insulting or saying anything, and I'm merely commenting in what he's putting to me. He's telling me that Ms. Khumalo and Longwe Trial are describing this person who's short and dark in complexion, but in that description of that, it fits accused number 3. How could that be lame and insulting, my lord? It is lame and insulting because he's not dark. As much as he's short, it's not dark. So you are saying that this person that has been described by Khumalo and Longwe is the same person that is sitting there in the court as accused number 3. So it's really uncalled for, Gininda said, and I'm pleading with advocate. It's amazing how he can switch from being the instigator to being a victim. It's fascinating. It fascinates me all the time. And if I didn't know any better, I would swear he was a victim. I would actually feel like, oh, he's on to something. But then I remember quickly, you are the one who poked this hole that you are finding yourself in. And he said, we've been down this memory lane. That please, the fact that I may say things that he doesn't like does not mean we have to undermine or disrespect each other. But how did Nisi disrespect you? This does not make sense. What is going on? He said, let us keep the decorum of the court. Haibo. Now you're speaking on the decorum of the court. The very same person who's this evasive is talking about decorum of the court. What are the rules of witnesses? Can someone get those rules and read them to Brigadier Gininda? I don't think he understands his role. He's thinking he's a lawyer. You understand? And he said, we deal with the business of the day. We will differ from time to time, but there's nothing personal. We are here to assist the court with those facts accordingly. Not disrespect each other or call each other names.
The judge had the judgment of 1970, some
74.
God knows what.
74, guys. 1974. That's how much he had to dig to find something. He had to go back all the way to 1974 to try and tame the cross-examination of Advocate Mnisi. That's literally what he was trying to do. He was trying to tame him. Even though he wasn't attacking anybody, I personally don't feel like he attacked Gininda. I know an attack. I've seen an attack before. Mnisi did not attack Gininda. He just doesn't want to answer questions. That's it. That's the problem. It's his problem. It's not Mnisi's problem. You understand? And he doesn't want to state it if he doesn't understand a question, that I didn't understand that question. That's all. Because if he said, if I throw that name to him, it might not sit well with him. And I don't think we are going to do that. Can we just focus on the issue that are at hand and deal with them accordingly? Okay. He thought he ate. He thought, I gotcha. Mnisi ngimtholile, because there was a moment of silence where Mnisi was just flipping through his notes, and he gave him his moment to finish whatever was in his chest. Well, Mnisi said that he will proceed. He just wanted to sort out his papers, and then he went to the statement of Zandi Khumalo now. He said, then the statement from Zandi Khumalo, she also gave the description. It says, we all sat down and started making jokes. At that moment, it was around 2000 hours in the evening when suddenly two men, African males, walked inside the house from the kitchen door. One in the front having a gun on his hand, and the other was average height with dreadlocks and dark, thin, and wearing a brown or beige jacket. He had a small dops on his head. Now this threw me off. Remember how much of a struggle it was to define this hat?
Yes.
Where was this line of referring to it as a dops? Because when you speak of a dops, you speak of a hat that is really hard.
Yes.
Like the ones former minister of the police likes to wear. Yes. And if it's a small one, it means... So, on top of dreadlocks, he was wearing a dops.
Yeah.
Pela dops needs a very flat head. I'm just saying. But then he said he had big eyes as well. I'll be able to identify him if I see him again. And then he pointed at the tall one, the one she couldn't see. This comes from a witness in the house. Mnisi said this is the third person who described the person as dark and had dreadlocks. Gininda said Zandi attended the ID parade and didn't identify Mr. Mbata as her mother, and Longwe Twala did. Mnisi said what can be said here is that the three people are describing the person in a similar fashion because they were all in the house. And then he said that he will argue what Zandi came to court and testified. And Gininda said that he can hear him. Mnisi then said this court also heard the testimony of Nthokozisi Twala. He gave his own description. Mr. Madlala also gave his own description, and they all accord with what Mr. Madlala said, with what Zandile said, and with what Longwe said. And Gininda said he was not in court, so he doesn't know what was said by these witnesses. But you took down the second statements of... Hi, Mnisi then said you've been saying accused number 3 is linked to commission of offense through photos, and Gininda said that when they seized the phone and looked at the photos depicting the date of the 26th of October 2014, there were photos of him with dreadlocks wearing a khaki top. Gininda said yes, but the context was put that when they found the cell phone under the Cleveland case, there were downloads that were found. And in some of the photos, he was seen wearing a khaki jacket on the date of the 26th of October 2014 with dreadlocks. Gininda said that there was one where he had gold teeth, and he ended up saying that the angle is not very clear. And then he ended up saying that there is a reservation to say it's him, but in his view, he thought that it was him. So he testified along that context, that collaboration, to say that the person who went into the house on the day of the offense had dreadlocks, and on the witness identified a khaki jacket. Mnisi then said Zungu said on the 26th of October 2014 he met all the accused at Soto Hostel for a jamboree or a celebration. They were singing their traditional dances. But what is key here, he says that accused 3 had dreadlocks on that date, but he says they disappeared. The accused disappeared and they came back. And when they came back, there was an exchange of firearms. But Zungu says that accused number 3's dreadlocks on that day were braided. They were tied up at the back. They were like that when they disappeared. They were like that when they came back. Gininda said he was not there when he testified. Those issues could be taken up with him. The downloads they have to, they do have a date. Mnisi then said Zungu has already testified. His question is about you, Gininda, and him interacting. He said, did you have a discussion about the dreadlocks he had on that day? And Gininda said that his interaction with him is contained in his statement, which he gave while the trial was underway. And he gave the names of the accused. Baloyi raised an objection and said that the question is unfair to the witnesses. Zungu testified.
Useless
and
objection.
all these issues were taken up with him. It is not for this witness to tell what happened during consultation, but the witness himself has testified.
Useless objection.
Nisi said that the description of the dreadlocks are at the heart of this matter, which is the identity, and central to the idea is the issue of the dreadlocks. Gininda said that Zungu gave his statement when the matter had started. He also gave names and surnames with the descriptions, unlike people who were in the house. Gininda said, I know in his statement he dealt with the issue of dreadlocks regarding accused number 2, but I don't know to what extent. If I would go through the statement, perhaps I could see what he said, but in terms of what he told to the court, I was not there. Nisi then said Zungu, when he went through the pictures, he confirmed that there are dreadlocks accused 3 had on that day in question. When you investigated this case with the view to find a description of the perpetrator with the gun, you came across this picture. Zungu says this is how accused number 3 looked, and you have the witness in the house that are saying one of the perpetrators, the one with the gun, had dreadlocks, but his dreadlocks went up to the neck portion with, they say they anything about the manner in which the dreadlocks were arranged. I mean, if he was wearing a Dobbs and he had braided dreads, I don't see that Dobbs sitting. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. I don't see it, especially if it was a small Dobbs. You hear me?
Yeah.
It's a tricky situation. And he said, what came to your mind? Gininda said, if you look at this, it collaborates with what was said by the witness. If you look at the dreadlocks on the screen, you can see they go up to the neck. Gladness Ozandi described the dreadlocks going to the next and going to the neck. My apologies. And one of those outside, he thinks Ntabiseng also described the dreadlocks going up to the neck. Let us also not remember that Ntabiseng said the dreads were flowing, were flying. Do you guys remember that? They were moving. So braided dreadlocks and moving. I don't know. This is also the khaki jacket accused number 3 was wearing. If you look at the date on the pictures, this photo also corroborates that part. And Nisi said photo 17 gives clear version. Would you say that those are the similar
I think this is now Mkumene to play.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Because his were vele the length of.
He's trying now to. Did you hear the answer then?
He said khumalo talks about it in her description as well.
But it's not clear.
Who also had a firearm, yeah. No one on this one. The dreadlocks are visibly
They made a
longer.
blunder by pointing Mkumene as accused number 3. It was a blunder they cannot run away from.
However, this picture and the previous picture were not taken at the same time. And Mnisi said, let me assist you with the dates that they were taken. This one was taken on the 26th of October 2014 at 17:41. And the other one was taken on the same day at 17:28. So the state said that the question is irrelevant, saying accused 3 concedes its time in the photos and how the dreads look is immaterial. It depends from which angle those images were viewed.
Useless
or
objection.
the photos are taken. Now I see why was my photo.
Useless
If we were seeing
objection.
those photos, don't you think this would have been closed by now?
Useless objection. Again.
All the social media detectives would have been on these pictures. That's why I was it's taken from a different angle.
Same day. It changes the threads from being long to icon.
Well, Mnisi said, thank you, Brigadier. I respect the state's submission that you will not be able to comment on this. Thank you. Mnisi said that he was experiencing a bit of discomfort in his tummy.
I'm worried for him.
You think so?
I'm worried.
Well, the judge had to read a case about decorum as versus Azov
During that pain that
1974.
Nisi had in
And
the
you
stomach.
saw the discomfort, the body language, that he was not feeling well. I mean, how can he choose to just go through a judgment while someone is expressing discomfort?
I don't see it.
Sure. And he said that the magistrate on this case complained about the conduct of the attorneys. Mind you, this was during apartheid, ne? And the judge had a problem with how police witnesses or any other kind of witnesses were cross-examined. He said that they deserved courtesy. No examiner is entitled to insult a witness or treat
What
him
is
in a
it?
manner.
That is even funny because he's talking about the police of that time, which we know which ones were the
Brutal.
most dominant at the time. It was the police of no color that were there. So the judge was protecting the police of probably no color. This is very funny.
And he said no examiner is entitled to insult a witness or treat them in a manner in which those police officer witnesses in 1974
Now I was gonna dissect it
were
right
treated.
there. If I was gonna dissect it right there.
Akire Mnisi manje umthole kahle, he was in discomfort.
Hey.
Umthole kahle in discomfort.
I was gonna
know
come
Mnisi
back.
was
My
gonna
lord,
tell him.
can I address this? Can we address this elephant in the house?
And he said, without there being a very good reason for it, witnesses must be treated with courtesy and respect. You know, as if these officers that he's fighting for
Probably
treat
this
people
is
with respect.
this is a judge of no color
Yes, it
defending
was
the
apartheid.
police of no color.
It was apartheid, guys. Let us not even kid ourselves. Basically,
He's even saying it was apartheid.
yeah, he
That's
even
how.
said it. He had to, because if he didn't, he knew that the people of South Africa are going to remind him, as Mgomezulu did at this other time when he brought up a case, Raar versus Hepworth, a time when we had no rights. You conveniently choose during a time where people were doing willy-nilly over people
Certain
of this
people,
skin color.
yes.
You just choose, you conveniently choose cases where people never get it. They didn't get a damn about us. You just
Guys.
conveniently choose.
This is the time where you can call.
Okay, guys, you can call in. You can call in. Otherwise, I'm going to talk for the whole night.
This is the time where you can call. This is the time
The lines are now open. Guys,
where you
please
can call.
us. Please call us. But I'm very pissed at this quoting of a case that we cannot say it's relevant. And for the mere fact
Mzansi, hello.
Umalelano kunjani?
Siyaphila mfethu njani?
Siyaphila dani inkosi yakhona. Mona nawe sisemhle.
that
Hey, wano. I so wish our comments you don't take serious because we from different places
Yeah,
and different channels also.
yeah.
There is a way to ambush the other channel to destroy the channel is going up. So you're gonna just hide yourself, comment whereby you're not commenting, you just pass the message. Okay, masisuke phasize nga.
Yes.
Ubrigadier une problem.
Yes.
Problem anayo statement uzenze ngokwakhe nobaloyi. And the pictures, have pictures in advanced, so they make a statement through the pictures. Now the pictures, they don't come because now the defense is here.
Yeah.
They never exactly explain how, why, all those questions, no answers. But now the brigadier itself now, he lose everything. I was thought maybe at that funeral, our judge, he have a cup of coffee with the other judges because the day before yesterday, he was so quiet.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting yesterday he's gonna be like this. He came with us 1974, all that stuff. He back to his track. I believe Advocate Minis, he done this case. But this case is not gonna be done. They have to sentence those guys first, then it goes to appeal. The judge, he don't have anything. Normally we used to say he's writing something, only to find out those pens are facing at his face. He only play with those pens. He don't write there anything. I saw that on yesterday. He don't write anything, but he just look as he writing something. He don't write. At the pens, they look at his face. He only do something there with those pens. Three of them in between his fingers. I saw that.
Yeah.
He don't write that judge. That judge, he have his own judgment. Then he waiting the last day, and then he deliver his judgment. He don't listen whatever we're doing at that court. He don't listen. He have his own judgment. I was thought maybe he writing something. I was already worried. Why this judge is writing so long things? Only to find out until the camera face his desk. And then I said, no, man, these pens are facing at his face. He don't write. So I'm back to your word. You said those guys are going down.
Yeah.
I support that. They are going down. Because the judge, he already have his judgment. He's only going to read that judgment. Now, if you can see, he said before, this confession, he's going to take it, but he's going to, at a later stage, he's going to make a decision. Now we are at trial now. He don't make any decision. Instead, they based those confessions. There is no other case anymore. There is no investigation. They only have the confession.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're there. I just want to rectify something.
Okay.
Sysnet, he teach us something we don't know. When you love something, you contributed that something. You go with your heart.
Yeah.
You don't buy that thing. You contributed that thing. The most special when you see these persons, they don't want to go and beg. Only they know their story, what they doing.
Yeah.
As I'm so praying to have a heart like Sysnet.
Yeah.
It teach us even at our areas, when you see something struggle, go and donate whatever you have. Thank you very much. I know long time I'm still struggling with my phone. The reason why I don't even comment. But I like the video, everything. I do everything every day. I'm only use my screen of my TV. Thank you very much, I know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Right. Next. Mzansi, hello.
Hello, Anonymous and Emily. How are you guys doing?
We're good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm taking it day by day.
Right. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Once again, you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am confused about the fact that quite a number of questions that the so-called Gininda is asked in that court, he's got a lot of I don't knows, and I wasn't there, and I wasn't in court,
Yes.
even when the statements have been so-called authenticated by being pronounced in court by potential witnesses.
Mm.
What becomes noticeable and also questionable is that all the people that were actually not called is because there are discrepancies in as far as how they describe the alleged intruders to not so match the 5 accused, particularly accused number 3 and number 2. And then it's either Gininda wasn't there or he wasn't in court when the evidence was delivered. So how come a lead investigator? So did he investigate anything, even though Umnisi asked it sarcastically that did you investigate anything? And as far as in this case, what is it that you investigated really? You cannot be saying you don't know. Where is his word, his most famous word, corroborate? So he uses it when it fits him. Now, all of a sudden, he now understands that it's not his job to evaluate the evidence. Yet, all along, he's always been a person that was even going to use inconclusive DNA evidence. Now, not anymore. My biggest question is, don't we have, I'm not sure as to whether to refer to that body as a legal institution. Can LPC kick in? We're also having a problem with the judge here, to be quite honest. And that is why the last reaction we saw out of Uramusipile, whereby he said that judgment that you're using of, I think, 1974, I know how to conduct myself in court. I don't need to read that. You can take it home if you want and go teach it to your grandchildren if he does have. Oh, he didn't literally put it like that, but you know, in a subtle way. I mean, come on, please. I don't know if it should be the LPC or any court that is higher than the High Court then. Because how this has undermined the entire South African justice system. Thus, I don't even blame Sfiso to say everything else that he will be doing from now on is to also save other families. How many of them have suffered because of Gininda, Baloyi, and the very judge that we don't know about, that are probably in jail as we speak? This court is not being conducted, I don't know law, but just from the basis of common sense. What is happening there has undermined the entire justice system of South Africa, in my opinion. Like we always said, that it's your opinion. I will have to adopt those kind of words. But this is embarrassing, in my opinion. It's really pathetic. That's all I can say. Can we call someone on a higher level must kick in right now? It's high time, really. Thank you very much, guys. Continue with your good job. But this is really, I don't know how to describe it. But thank you very much for doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Zanzi,
you very
hello.
much for doing a good job. Thank you.
Zanzi, hello. I'm reducing you. Please deal with the volume. Right.
Hello.
Is your volume sorted at the back? We could
Yes,
hear
I'm
you,
sorted.
sir.
I'm sorted.
Yes, yes.
How are you guys?
We're good, sir. How are you doing?
Good. Good to hear you guys while we're still up.
Yes.
Eesh.
Yeah. Just a few things that I've jotted down. Hopefully I'll go through them quickly.
Okay.
Firstly, umzamo. Is it umzamo or zamo?
Mzamo.
Mzam.
Umzamo, ne?
Yes.
Okay. So umzamo, I think there was something, I don't know, was it ENCA or carte blanche? There was something earlier this year about his case, ne? I don't know if you guys watched
Oh,
it.
you mean Zamoguhle?
Zamoguhle.
Zamo.
Zamoguhle Mbad.
Oh, Zamoguhle
Yes.
Mzamo. Oh, yeah, Zamoguhle Mzamo, yeah.
Zamoguhle Mbad.
Mbatha.
Mbatha.
Yes.
Yeah, Mbatha. Yes, sorry to butcher his name, sorry.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so basically, he opened a case, ne? Basically suing, I don't know whether it's SAPS or something, ne? Right?
Yes.
And basically, they don't want to pay him, ne?
They are saying the case is not closed or something.
Yes.
Like that. I think that
Yes.
it was Tole who was saying that.
Yes, and they're saying he's still a person of interest.
Person
It
of
is.
interest.
Yes.
Yes. And if they're saying he's still a person of interest, after all of Gininda's talking today, he must just go to them, show them Gininda's evidence today and say, am I still a person of interest?
That's what I was thinking about too. He's actually not being paid because of that.
Yes, that's all he must do. Because obviously he's not a person of interest. They are just lying not to pay him. So that's one. Number two, to second what the last caller was saying, where he made some valid points about the judge. The judge is obviously gonna find these guys guilty, right? And we are all saying that the defense must lay the groundwork for the appeal. An appeal is not child's play. You need to lay the groundwork for an appeal. You need to have reasons for an appeal, whether it's bias, whether it's this and that, whatever. Anyone with half a brain cell knows that these guys are not guilty. You know, a 5-year-old knows that these guys are not guilty.
Yes.
So I would suggest that why even wait for an appeal? You know, we shouldn't even be getting to an appeal. There must be a remedy somehow, some way, where this case, like, we need to stop this case. Like, seriously, this needs to go higher up where this case stops now. This is nonsense. Kudlalwa ngesikhathi sethu la. Ayikho lento. These guys need to stand up and say, the last guy was saying, this needs to go higher up now. This judge is out of control. He's out of order. From insinuating that Shololo can't speak English, from judging UNISA lawyers, from mimicking or miming or finishing answers for witnesses, for winking at witnesses, from winking at Baloi, ayikho yonke lento, you know? Omnis is doing so well, but this judge is just a nightmare. You know, Shololo, when she goes to Gininda, she will, every time she goes to ask something, she will just get chopped down.
Yeah.
She will just get blocked. Ubaloyi will be standing up every 2 minutes as soon as she gets somewhere. Black Mamba, I'm patting the Black Mamba. We're not Black Mamba. Also, very low. Buzumbuza pegi manch.
Yeah.
You know, just to go back a step to something that Emily said about when the judge was asking about Gininda, judge asked Gininda about a statement is a Longwe, ne?
Yeah.
Yes.
The judge asked him if he commissioned the statements, not if he confirmed them.
Yes.
Yeah, so if he commissioned them, so there's a difference there. So he never commissioned them. So bembuzela logo. So he asked him that for nefarious reasons.
Yeah.
He asked him that for nefarious reasons. For Yamaziki, that's also an indication. He's devious. This man, he's devious. He's He's a devious man, you know. And just touch on Mngomezulu just a bit. Mngomezulu needs to, like, I don't know, write a letter or something, or go to court and say something. Either we are Kolisa or say something, but needs to write a letter. Can the judge stop talking about Mngomezulu engekho? Because he can't keep saying things like, yeah, there was Mngomezulu was saying I was colluding. Angmazi Ubaloyi for the purpose of, he obviously knows Ubaloyi. Ubaloyi is on every case has been in. What is he saying? Any facility, whether in a health fraternity, lawyers, these guys know each other. Uyamazi, whether they've met or not met, I won't know. But Uyamazi has heard of him. Come on, you know, and that part when he's asking what's the thing that made me so mad today? I think Mr. Anonymous, you mentioned it about the traditional healer.
Yes.
The traditional healer. Okay, so did that traditional healer, was it, which statement is accused 1 or 2?
It's accused 1.
Accused 1.
Yes.
Accused 1 lo obalabantu owabula Lusenzo on the Saturday, not even the Sunday.
Yes.
Lawyer.
Yes.
Lawyer accused 1.
Yes.
The same judge owengafuna ukukholwa izinto zesintu ngesikhathi uMngomezulu ukhuluma ngazo.
Yes.
This same judge uyakhohlwa lokho.
Yes.
Useyakholwa ke manje. Yabo lo judge akuhlaliwe ngathi la. This judge must just get a life. This judge, he must just get a life. Mfethu iskebeng lel judge lel. Anyway, thank you for your time, guys. Thank you for the good work. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All that is said here are the views of the caller and is alleged. Are the views of the caller. Mzansi, hello. Mzansi, hello.
Good morning, my fellow co-founders and co-owners of Mzansi Reality Channel.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Morning, co-founder. We are doing well.
By the way, I'm very humbled to accept the nomination for co-founder and co-owner, but I guess the position is open for the contenders to come on board.
Yes, it's open for the contenders.
Yes, you know, Mr. Ano, I can hear that today you're doing very well. You sound much better than yesterday, so I hope you had a good day.
Yeah, I did have a good day. I rested a bit before I started.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, I'm also doing great. You know, I'm great. I'm just supporting the channel and, you know, not stopping. Nothing's gonna stop me. So
thank you.
You know, I'm just wanting to check in with my sister Emily to find out if she's still flying in the Airbus with me and Captain Missy.
Cruising nicely.
Because, yeah, you know what, my baby, I'm still sitting in first class, and I'm still hoping that my little Samsonite somewhere down there in the deck is okay as well, you know, and, you know, I'll go back to Wednesday. To Tuesday, because really Wednesday I was turned off. I just couldn't follow what was going on, and my mind was just, I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And I just want to say big ups to you guys for being able to sit through Gininda's testimony and just understand what he's saying and being able to break it down. Because to be honest with you, I listen to that man and I get lost, and my brain just goes fuzzy. So thank you for being able to decipher what he's saying, because I can't. You know, Captain Missy was cruising nicely on Tuesday.
Yes.
Do you know what? but there were so many turbulences. And I think the people who were feeling the turbulence more were Baloyi and Gininda.
Yeah.
You know, he was just flying at the same altitude. The only thing that he was doing was just increasing the speed of the Airbus. It was so beautiful. It was a nice ride.
Yes.
And I bet Baloyi was sweating underneath that black robe. He must have been really sweating because he couldn't sit still. He kept standing up to cool down. He kept standing up and over again. You know, even Judge Rata was so quiet like a country mouse.
Yes.
You know, for a moment I was a bit concerned for his health. I didn't think he was okay. But then I realized that he could just be in disbelief and maybe regretting that he praised Gininda too soon. You know, because to me, in my opinion, Gininda is a dumpster fire. He's a dumpster fire. He's a big dumpster fire. You know, and it became very clear on Tuesday that Gininda was acting on Baloyi's instructions. It's no longer now an allegation or a secret. He said it, right? It's out there. He put it out there in the public that I was taking instructions from Baloyi. This is what I was being told. We were having meetings. So now we know who appointed him as the lead investigating officer. So now I don't blame him for thinking that he is the lead investigating officer, because he was the one who was sitting with Baloyi in meetings and being given directions and instructions as to what to do. So now we know that the instructions didn't come from his office or his seniors where he's working, but the instructions came from Baloyi.
Yes.
So if I was also given instructions to do stuff, I would also think that I'm in charge. So that is why he thinks he's the LIO. You know?
Yes.
So, and in my opinion as well, I think he threw Baloyi under a big red London double-decker bus. He put it on reverse and drove over him. That's what he did on Tuesday. And, you know, and then Gininda also said the statements of the housemates had a cloud hanging over them. Hence, he didn't bother going back to them. But then he's also saying Exhibit A12 and A58, which I'm thinking, if I remember well, is I don't even know what to call her, but you know, that lady, the head queen of the House of Devils. You know, so now her statements, Exhibit A12 and A58, are credible and should not be viewed or considered separately. So if he didn't trust them in the beginning, why should A12 and A58 be accepted as credible? At what point did the cloud dissipate from their heads?
Yeah.
At what point? You know, and also when it comes to the ID parade, if I remember very well from the Netflix dossier.
Yes.
I remember that. If I remember, I stand to be corrected, and if somebody can correct me, that'll be great. I think I remember Mrs. Steenkamp. I think Miss Steenkamp mentioned something along the lines of that. You know, none of those people in the house could tell her anything to go by. They had nothing to tell her.
Yeah.
They couldn't describe nothing at that point.
Yeah.
But then surprisingly, a month later, Gladys is able to pick people up from the lineup. That's just shocking. So what is the explanation for you know, for them not being able to identify or give an identification of the people that they saw, especially if there was a significant amount of contact between them and the so-called intruders, because there was contact, because there was a tussle or whatever happened between them. People were striking each other with crutches and things like that.
Yes.
So there could have been some kind of eye contact and things like that. They would have been able to pick up some features and blah blah blah, and they would have been able to describe those features immediately when Miss Steenkamp was interviewing those people. But Miss Steenkamp said they gave me nothing, right? So if anybody is interested, there is research on eyewitness testimony it is mainly around cognitive psychology. I've actually contributed to some of those papers as well. If anybody's interested, they can go and have a look and have a read at those papers on eyewitness testimony, just to to understand how questions, the phrasing of questions can actually have an impact on the responses of the interviewees, the people who are being interviewed, like, for instance, for witnesses. For example, if you say to somebody, how fast was the car going when it crossed the intersection? Because you included the word fast, you're already insinuating that the car was speeding,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So you're actually influencing the response. So somebody will then maybe just exaggerate and be like, oh, I think the car was going at 100 kilometers per hour. But then when you say, what speed do you think the car was traveling at when you crossed the intersection? Then you're not, it's different, right? You'd expect to get a different response.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested in that research, go and read on that research on eyewitness testimony. Yes.
It's called eyewitness testimony.
Yes, there's a lot of research on eyewitness testimony. There's a lot of papers there. You can read about how, like even memory, especially in cases around, adults coming years later and saying, I was molested when I was a child, or and like it just talks about how unreliable memory can be and things like that. And yes, so it's a very interesting research. So if you have time, just dig into it and just read and just try and understand like why some of these things are happening the way they're happening, and why they're actually taking advantage of those things that around memory and stuff like that. But it's very funny because it's selective as to how they're using it. It only applies to the people in the house, but it doesn't apply to people like Ntanzi. So if you read that research, you'll be able to understand how they're manipulating everything and they're using it. Maybe they don't know it, but you'll understand what they're doing, right? I will end my call to avoid annoying people who think I take too long on the call sometimes. I will end my call by saying, people who unite with the purpose of planning the demise of others always turn on each other, because they are like a scaffold which is there to support the building. And once the building is up, it's over, because they had a common purpose to protect other people allegedly, and to make sure that 5 people go down who have absolutely nothing to do with this crime. They will turn on each other. And we have started to see that unfolding, and we saw that on Tuesday. So the gist of the story here is there is no honor amongst thieves. So that is where I will end my call. I love you guys. You take care, and I will see you on the next one. And to the gentleman who spoke blessings upon me, I really appreciate it. I thank you. I really appreciate it, because this is just what I love doing. And to the caller, the first caller who called, who may not be on the live chat because he says he doesn't have a phone or whatever, please reach out to Emily with your details and stuff, and I'll see what I can do for you so that you can be online and have a phone. Okay.
Thank you.
I love you guys. You take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Ned. Oh my
Thank
God,
you.
you're a star. But I like this quote that she just left us with. That
before we go to the call, let
honor
me take this caller. Zanzi, hello. She's been calling. Zanzi, hello.
Hello, family. How are you?
I'm all right, sir. I'm sorry, man. I see you've been calling. You're calling on when people were on the call.
Yes. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to get through because, by the way, let me start by saying hi, Emily, and hi, Anonymous.
Hi, sir. Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. My name is John Paul.
Yes, John Paul.
Yes. Actually, I'm still to be corrected, but I just want to touch on the basis where, in terms of Zungu, the constable, and Zungu, Absalom as the father.
Yes.
If it is appearing in this case that Zungu the constable approached the national commissioner to talk about his father, what his father know.
Yes.
Apparently, going forward, and then the only arrangement that was made is for the father to come and make the statement.
Yes.
Without Zungu saying that, I was also available, or I was also present in the hostel. He's not saying that.
Yes.
Only arrangement that was made is for Zungu to tell the father that the father must come and make the statement.
Yes.
Now we can see now it is not taking the direction that why Zungu, you did not say on the stand that remember Gininda, I was also present when this commission of crime was committed.
Yes.
Meaning now, we have that different now in terms of why Mnisi was sticking to this particular issue of identification. It's because of that.
Yes.
Because if Gininda is being asked that before you can arrest this particular accused, where were you getting the sources? Then the sources is between the two. It's the Zungu, the constable, and the Zungu, the Absalom, is the father. And the father did not actually know what transpired. He was told by Mpegisen in Danzi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So here it is a matter of discrepancies where I don't know how to figure this thing out, because you cannot say there is a actual source where this thing emanated from. It is a cooking where it is clear in terms of the Zungu. Now I'm proudly saying, I didn't say at the time, but now I'm proudly saying Zungu the constable was lying. Then Absalom was not called. Why Absalom was not called to the stand and then actually say whatever needs to be said to be testing his statement actually? There's a last caller here that says, all the people that were not called, they saw that there will be discrepancies, there will be contradictions on that matter. Let me let other callers to come in, because I was also petting to come in. I wanted to share this issue of Zungu constable and Zungu the Absalom.
Yes.
It was not on point. It was not on point. Really. Thanks, family.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes. So, Emily, you were saying something.
No,
I just wanted to take the call because
honor amongst thieves. That is so true.
Yeah, it
when
is.
you're focused on a goal, once that goal is done, you turn on each other.
Yes, that's true. That is true. There is, yeah, guys, and the pictures, guys. Yeah, man, it's someone is complaining about YouTube. I think you can refresh your YouTube. Someone's saying is not able to comment. Let me hear this one.
Hi, Mr. Ano and Sus Emily. Ngizowamfisha nje ngabimoto. Umnisi ikhakhile yonke lento le case kahle kahle nje state sesele sayidina sana case at all. Mara bekufisa manje ngathi anga expose le ndaba le yazungu. Ngoba kahle kahle sebabambe ku statements azungu and then sababa anginankinga naso kakhulu. So kube kuyenzeka athi before izozwakala indaba statements azungu lesi asisho ukuthi bekana bekwastela that day. Ungabe uthi okay fine ukuze sibhilive kahle ngoba 205 bazothi babala ngale 5 years 3 years kodwa lapho kwenze ukuthi kodwa bekasebenzele imoto states cela kuthola ama record emoto ukuthi that day imoto le bekahamba ngayo yasuka phi ayapi until kuze abuyele emuva, then kuzobonakala ukuthi lapho ngoba le ndawo yakhe ayizwakali even nakule maphoto uyayibala in manje yena mangastika lapho ukuthi sizosibona nansi sibhilive yes uzungu bekanabo angisho bafundile ama record emoto le behamba accused number 3 bafundile alongwe akubuye azungu zobonakala no guys ngiyabonga but ayimnisa ngisamvuma yabonga guys.
Siyabonga. Thank you. That is your contribution. Yeah, the pictures of the accused icon, but they don't see the pictures of it. That is so clear. Hey, Buffett. Hey.
What pictures, guys?
I pictures this clear. You say you don't see.
Who's saying they don't see the pictures?
I get it when there was an objection of the pictures.
Oh, that they could be taken from a different angle.
Man, it doesn't matter. They all portray the same thing. They all portray the same thing.
That's why they don't want the public
to see them. Yeah, it makes sense. Mzansi, hello. Mzansi, hello.
Sanibona singeni unjani?
Siyaphila mfethu njani?
Hayi, siyaphila nathi. Kathi umuntu wagcina ungena.
Yeah.
Yebo, hayi. Ngizorengile kulesi kaMageba nesixhosa.
Yeah.
Yebo. Hey, bafowethu, hayi. Uyiqedile umnisi case.
Exactly.
Uyiqedile because yonke revolve around the identity of people who entered the house. And if phela bonke abantu abangabizwanga ngabane statement as contrary in terms of identification. Kulamajita labanjweyo lapho.
Yes.
Of 5. Because into abazama uyenza ngoku bazama udistancer okanye distancer as witnesses, because you need eyewitnesses, people who are in the scene. They don't have that, and abakwazi ukuthaya lamajita based on the hearsay evidence that has been led by that came through Absalom and also Zungu at the end of the day. To indict Lamachita beyond reasonable doubt, you need at least witnesses from the house. Not Utumelo Nozandi coming to court. Only describe Umfushani, Omyama, Namachipos, but then at a point the person I'm describing here on the statement. Pointer Untanzi, the tall one. On the other hand, Utumelo was fighting with the tall guy, according to his statement, according to testimony. But therefore, at a point, that guy who pointed out white is number 3. Already, in terms of identification, there is a problem. I guess there's a line.
Guys,
So, based on identification of the suspects, is throwing out a case completely out. That's why our judge umbona ukuthi hayi umangalisekile naye, because umnisi uyibethe wide open, and uGininda doesn't have any evidence to say anyone that they call, by the way, state to say I can positively identify Ababantu. From my statement initial, I've been consistent, but they change all of them. Kangenani statements. Yeah. So ndifuna nje ukuthi umnisi usebenze kakhulu, and le case le ihleli ngekho kwaqala. And this guy Gininda, we have exposure, by the way, by how I see in Gela, like deliver Shanghai testimony. He pick and choose about okay, in terms of fita, my narrative, because all about his opinion. It's not about the evidence. And also there's a question in the side about the chain of the evidence, how to keep the evidence. If it was open in the already that has been distracted, the chain of evidence, how then can we trust and put weight on that? Because this evidence, it must be weighed on the balance of scale in terms of probability and what might have occurred. At this time around, or up until this point, again, there is no clear evidence to say that abantu abanje now we can pinpoint them now before this court. Because even you can look at cell phone records, the time ekuthiwa bangena ngalo endlini ekagadla ifoni seJoburg. Iphinga around iJoburg.
Yeah.
Not at the hostel where it is alleged. So for me, guys, umnisi is on sebenzile the day before, and he's not in a hurry. He's not in a hurry. Gininda is yadinwa nyani ngoku.
Yeah.
Yabonakala momentum iyaphela.
Yeah.
And we need abantu abanje komnisi. Normally they will come in with technicalities. Obviously, they're going to finishing. Solo, I just pray that she must not get emotional.
Yeah.
She must be very patient and be calm. Ngomezu must finish this thing. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling. And
Right,
yes.
guys. Bona manje nami ngathi sengiphathwa umnisi. Stomach bug. Yeah, just
Okay.
continue. Just
No,
finish that one.
No, I wanted to quickly translate Mnisi. He said Mnisi was done with the case because it revolves around the identity of the people who entered the house, and what they're trying to do is distance the witnesses from the house. He said you need people that were in the scene or on the scene as eyewitnesses. To indict the accused beyond reasonable doubt, you need witnesses from the house. Not Tumelo and Zandi coming in and saying that they were high cheekbones and pointing dreadlocks and stuff, but they don't point to the people that they described on their statements. Tumelo, for example, said he was fighting with the tall guy, but he did not point that tall guy in court. Instead, he pointed at accused number 3. Zandi, on the other hand, could identify the short one with the gun, but he came to court and identified Ntanzi. Based on the identity or identification of the suspect, it's going to throw this case out. This is according to the caller. And he said that Nisi put it wide open. The case, he put it wide open and he worked very hard. It's no longer like at the beginning. Gininda exposed himself. It's all about his opinion and not about the evidence. And also he said that Mnisi asked about how to keep evidence if it was opened.
Chain of evidence. Thank you, guys. Please like the video. 394. We have 610. Ultra Star, thank you for your generous gift donation that you did in this channel. Thank you. We appreciate you. I haven't gotten time to mention you. Just to mention the few people that were here. Davinso, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Ntati, thank you. We appreciate you. Sneh Sbia, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Sizwe 18, we appreciate you. Chuku Anna, we appreciate you. Masirami, thank you. We appreciate you. Laura, thank you. We appreciate you. Dan, we appreciate you. Sanji Westbanda, we appreciate you. Noza, we appreciate you. Gwelagit, we appreciate you. Mamfunega, we appreciate you. Ned, we appreciate you. Togozo Mbele, our member, we appreciate you. Just going, Nolukanyonka, we appreciate you, always present. AJ, thank you, we appreciate you very much for being with us. Shanji Westbanda, we appreciate you. Levi, I think, thank you, we appreciate you. Lusanda Msila, thank you, we appreciate you that you are here. Sheshe, our member. Lady C, we appreciate you. Njomane 83, we appreciate you. Matibako, thank you, we appreciate you. We see you in this side of the Paul Manjani, thank you. Noni, thank you. We appreciate you guys for being here. Think Ultra Star, I've mentioned you already, and thank you again for your generous gift. Thank you. We appreciate your assistance. Let me see, who am I missing here? I'm just going through. Matthews Mulife, thank you, we appreciate you. Lindani Dlamini, thank you, we appreciate you. Messi number 2, we appreciate you. We see you this side. We appreciate you. And then we have Shanjiwe, I think I've mentioned you. Sbanda, we appreciate Masiabelo, our member. We appreciate you. this is me being in a hurry. I don't know what is wrong with this stomach bug, guys. Bongiwe Mohapi.
Changing of the weather.
We appreciate you.
It's getting hot now.
Yeah, inyongo iyaqhubuka basho njalo. NgesiZulu. Iyenzeka lento. Nakunomobile should unisi. Vusuthando, we appreciate you. Yenzeka kunombani. Sibusiso Ndlovu, we appreciate you. Nkululeko Mbule, we appreciate you. Gloria Berger, we appreciate you. I'm glad that I've reached Gloria Berger because hey, bengizothethisa. Tibuo, we appreciate you. Hey, if you don't mention her, Msongelwa Ndlovu, we appreciate you. These are the people that were here in the comment. ESC, which is escape button. Those who do a lot of computer. Yes, we appreciate you. And yeah, that's about it, Emily. I think those are the people that I could be able to lay my eyes on and read their names, and we appreciate everyone that was here. No one is an exception. Even if I didn't mention you, it's because maybe I couldn't reach you. But we appreciate you for being here, and we appreciate everything that you have done, the liking of the video. Yes. May God bless you, and may you stay tuned with Mzansi Reality. Never give up. We are here. We are also not gonna give up. Kumbulani sishi. We appreciate you. Eti moyo. We appreciate that. Someone say eto. Eti moyo. We appreciate you. Sipo nengu. We appreciate you. I see there's a new member or there's a renewal. Lindy Wengobo. It's a renewal. We appreciate you.
Welcome back, Lindy. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you very much. Siyabonga. Ukuba nathi. Ukuchuza thina. We appreciate you on that. Metu Mhlanga. Siyakubona nawe. Welakithi. Thank you. We see you guys. Oratilwe. Nadia. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm learning to read this.
You are, lady. You're getting better.
I'm getting better on this other language. MZ, thank you very much. Petros, we appreciate you. Miss Mbali, we appreciate you. We see everyone that was here. And in appreciation, thank you very much, and thank you guys for renewing the member. Those who have forgotten, please, if you have means, do renew the membership. We do appreciate that. We, Lady C, yes, it does. It does. We might not mention a lot, but it does help us a lot in keeping everything moving. Thank you very much, guys. With love, may we see each other today again.
Yeah.